crucially, ferreting, squirreling, what's the correct verb to describe your activities around Westminster in the last hour or so, Andrew?
Lurking in a slightly seedy manner, I would say. A seedy lurk.
What have you gleaned? What have you gleaned?
And I have been seedily lurking, since all the way through this Parliament, and I have not come across a morning like this one for election speculation. It is at a different level entirely. It is shared by all the senior journalists, an awful lot of senior MPs from both the major parties and indeed the SNP. Everybody thinks something is going on. Now, there's very, very little hard evidence for this, but just to give you an example, I've spoken to a cabinet minister who thinks it's not going to happen, but really isn't sure and doesn't quite know what cabinet is being called to talk about, but points out the King is in London and Rishi Sunak is going to be seeing him later today. I've talked to somebody absolutely at the heart of Conservative Party election planning and the operation there, and I said, yes or no? And he smiled at me, shook his head and walked on. And I was quite surprised by that. Something's happening. So here's a third theory about Prime Minister's questions, James, which is that if you're Keir Starmer and you go into the chamber and you think the man opposite me, Rishi Sunak, is about to call the general election on the basis of very good, better economic news today, you don't give him the chance for that platform. You keep everything quiet, you keep everything calm. And Keir Starmer was at his most, as it were, father of the nation. Yeah. He spoke much longer about Craig McKinley and pointed out that he'd met Craig McKinley, who was a right-wing Brexit Tory MP, and he was all above politics, as it were. I'm the person who speaks for the country. I'm not going to let you have your election platform. And it was only that moment with Danny Kruger that gave that to the Prime Minister. So I think that was what was going on. He was saying, so we just don't know what's going to happen later on today.
So
but
Craig McKinley, as you say, former UKIP candidate. So lots of significance there. And denying Rishi Sunak the vaguest opportunity for a lap of honour would add to the idea that there are
precisely
things afoot this afternoon.
But for what it's worth,
I just say one other thing. Sorry to jump in there, and then I'll belt up. But one other thing, which I think is significant, is that interest rates are not likely to come down, I think, early this summer. And a lot of people think that inflation is going to tick back up again, not enormously, but a bit. In which case, today might well be the best day for economic news the government is going to have before the general election.
Well, it's not brilliant, though,
on a day
Andrew?
like this, sorry?
It's not brilliant economic news, though, is it, Andrew? It's less than the government thought. They thought it was going to be 1.9%. The economy's still not growing as much as we thought it was going to be.
I didn't say brilliant, I said the best they're going to get. And that being so, it would be a really bad act of political or party management to blow that news aside with election speculation, would it not? In other words, the government could have stamped on this already really hard, and they have chosen, wisely or unwisely, I would say unwisely not to. So either this is going to happen, or they have kind of slightly ruined what was going to be a good day for them.
So election, this is what the meeting this afternoon will be, or reshuffle, or, not for the first time, a complete red herring, and he'll come out with another announcement about bin collections or compulsory maths or something like that, which he tends to treat with a lot more fanfare than anybody else does.
Could this not be a speech where he just hails the economic news from today and says, yes, the plan is working, we've got to carry on and get on with it?
But then why not scotch the rumours? This is the point Andrew's picking up on.
Totally
it would be so easy to say, no, nothing to see here, move along, stop being so silly. And no one's done that, Andrew, to be clear.
No one's done that. And he said again in answer to Stephen Flynn in the Commons that it was going to be, spoiler alert, in the second half of the year, which means we're not going to have a June election, but that does not rule out a July one.
No,
I think it's a very weird time, by the way, to have an election. You know, you've got the football on, you've got a lot of sport, a lot of people booking their holidays already. It would not go down very well with quite a lot of voters.
Would I be fair in saying that you seem to be about 52-48 in favour of some big announcement, election-flavoured announcement later this afternoon?
Completely unfair, James. I'm 51.7.
Of course you are.
58.3.
Andrew,
the infernal ratio.
Andrew, can I just ask you, what did it feel like when, sort of 2009, when Gordon Brown was umming and ahhing about this? Did you feel there were any comparisons to this now?
I can point out that Gordon Brown eventually had to do an interview with one Andrew Marr to say there wasn't going to be an election.
Yeah.
And that, of course, proved to be the wrong choice. But I can vividly remember being summoned into Number 10 to be given that interview by Gordon Brown, saying, I'm not going to call a general election, and looking from the window of Number 10 down into Downing Street and seeing an absolutely furious Adam Bolton of Sky News pacing up and down, wondering why he hadn't got the interview. So I remember that day with great affection. Sorry, Adam.